Gabriel Paun ist Natur- und Tierschützer. Er studierte Naturwissenschaften, ist Gründer der rumänischen NGO Agent Green und EU-Direktor von Animals International. Fokus seiner Arbeit ist die Erhaltung der letzten Primär- und Urwälder und der Schutz der rumänischen Nationalparks. Gabriel Paun führt mehr als 400 Verfahren wegen illegalen Holzeinschlags. Seine Klagen lösten eine Reihe von Vertragsverletzungsverfahren der EU-Kommission gegen Rumänien aus. Seine Langzeitkampagne gegen den Weltkonzern IKEA deckt das Greenwashing des Unternehmens in Bezug auf Forstwirtschaft auf. Gabriel Paun wurde 2016 mit dem Euro-Naturpreis ausgezeichnet und 2023 von Politico in die Liste der Green 28 aufgenommen. Er überlebte mehrere Mordanschläge und wurde in Folge in die Global Witness Datenbank und die Frontline Defenders Liste der weltweit am stärksten gefährdeten Aktivisten aufgenommen. Neon Green Network präsentiert Gabriel Paun.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I feel a bit broken and disturbed about everything I have heard and seen. To be honest, I thought I have seen a lot in my life, everywhere I have been for investigations, but I didn't expect this tonight. I got a headache, to be honest, over the things I have heard and seen, and that's not easy to handle. And it's also, I'm very thankful to Richard and to Lina and to Ben for having said all the things they have said, and I can only say I concur everything that you have said. Thank you so much. And thank you, Angie, for organizing this wonderful event, and the presidency for being part of it. It's a role model for the whole world. We said we're going to talk about back to the roots tonight. For me, back to the roots is also talking about sustainability and planetary health. Sustainability is something I remember they were teaching me at the end of the last century when I was studying nature sciences at the university, and they were defining it something like when we people find the cutting edge and the balance between economical growth, social well-being, and nature, whatever. I can only say we failed to achieve that. I don't think there is a proper definition of sustainability, while planetary health could have one, but I'm going to go a bit later deeper into that. What I learned also at the end of the last century in the university was that scientists were making forecasts about what is happening today, what's going to happen by 2030, 2050, end of last century, but I would say within our lifespan. And reading again the past few days about those scenarios, I can see that today we have actually surpassed all those. I mean, the worst case scenario, we're over it. And I'm concerned. I can see our planet showing symptoms of reduced resilience and high stress. I can see for the past 50 years since IKEA exists, for example, but are not the solely, let's say, guilty entity about this, but they are part of this. 70% of our wildlife population is gone only in 50 years, just to put numbers to everything that has been said before. And that's a very first and concerning sign of extinction, an extinction which is unfolding as we speak, as we sit here. And we have failed to see for the past 50 years that we live on debts to the planet. I mean, we passed the overshot 50 years ago, and every year we consume more than the planet can regenerate. There is so little wildlife left that if we would have to measure, we can say there's already 2 times more plastic on our planet than wildlife, and that's not good. We have injected biomass and carbon that was produced by our planet in hundreds of millions of years in a single glimpse of time in our global economy. In short, I think we are divorced from our planet, and we have to work very hard to remarry our planet. And perhaps the biggest reason why this has happened, that we divorced, it's the whole education system. It's just my mindset. There is a lot of great guys out there like Ben trying to get people back in the nature and work with nature. There are kindergartens with kids going out, but the vast majority of education was and still is built around us, the humans, the supreme species on this planet. We are great, but we can't be supreme. And perhaps the solution here would be to rethink the education system around Earth. And we can rethink everything around our Earth. Then we can discuss about planetary health. For the moment, for the time being, if our planet Earth would have been taken to AKH, to the hospital, I think they would put our planet to intensive care. We just don't have the tools to do that, because, I mean, if we want to build a new hospital between the siebente Bezirk and the erste Bezirk, because the people would say, hey, we don't have enough hospital, that would be the local government to decide, hey, we need this hospital, so let's build it. If we need a new, let's say, rail line between Vienna and Tyrol, then this will be the federal government to decide. If we make a night train from Vienna to London, then this will be the government of Europe, which is the European Commission. But to deal with climate change, with the nuclear Armageddon that is knocking on our door like never before, to deal with artificial intelligence and gene editing, we need the planet to have its own government. That means building bridges and working together. That's the only way to avoid a major disaster that is ahead of us. Thank you. From where we are, and I don't want to sound apocalyptical, but I think I kind of need you to worry. We need to worry together. The only way out is down, because hell is already above us. And when I'm saying that there is a way down, and we can go down in a controlled way to make sure that we will face a future less terrible than it's unfolding in front of us, by a degrowth, because I said we are on depth to the planet, which means we have to somehow degrow, because the degrowth will happen regardless if we plan it or not. It's going to be by disaster or by design. I prefer the design option, because by design we can make choices, and it's going to be less terrible than it looks right now. And I already said that we can do that by education. And there is great power in individual choices, in collective choices, and these are choices which are beyond the power of politicians or corporations, because, for example, we can choose to have less or no animals in our plate when we eat. We can choose to plan a smaller family. We can choose to travel electric. We can start asking ourselves when we buy new stuff, do we really need to buy that stuff? And if we buy that stuff, we should look at quality, that we hold on to it for as long as we can, and perhaps we pass it to a next generation. That's one thing we asked from IKEA that Lina was speaking about. Don't make single-use furniture that is gonna change like socks because they have a catalog next year. I mean, make a dining table for the family last for 1,000 years. That would be a change. So there are choices we can make, but we have to get involved, like each of us, and like not starting 1st of January, not next month, not tomorrow, like now. And like now, I would quote Lina when she said, show yourself. And I would develop that a little bit, if I may, Lina. To me, show yourself is, you don't have to be a campaigner like I am, or like Lina is, or a school teacher, like a university teacher, like Ben. It's about finding that thing that makes your heart sing, because everybody has a secret inner gift which has to be discovered and revealed. Everybody's good at something, and you know when you do that thing because your heart is singing. And it starts everything with getting involved by saying no when you have to say no. I'm not going to give examples, but you can do that at home, in your family. You can do it on the streets. You can do it at work. You can do it at elections also. It's a lot of moments when we can say no. But if you choose to be a campaigner, like I am, there are things I learned, and I'm very grateful. I see in this room a few people who have trained me 20 years ago. I see Matthias. Hello, Matthias. I see Alexander. Thank you for the best trainings anyone on this earth could get to get ready for this fight, because it's not easy to fight large corporations. And these trainings are so good that you can actually go against any corporation with the right strategy, with the right smart objectives, with an amazing myriad of tactics. And it does work. I mean, there are things you can't learn them, because these corporations are very, very powerful. And they will stop at nothing to come and get you. But you do have a chance, and you do have a sort of a force behind you. I can't explain it. It's not a kind of Jedi Master kind of force, but perhaps it is. We can call them guardian angels. When you are genuine, your love for nature, when you are armed only with science and the truth, they will look after you. When you're not that, they won't. And I'm going to just share a few stories that it exposes a little bit what it means, and that no training can prepare you for. First story doesn't have to do anything with forest. It's a story which I was doing when I was with Greenpeace like 20 years ago. And my first great opponent was no other company than Monsanto. Monsanto, perhaps some of you heard about it. They are the one, they exist since 1902. They have designed a chemical weapon using Vietnam. They are doing pesticides, fertilizers, putting patents on seeds, and making these genetically modified organisms. And it was a very, very harsh battle. And I started fearless. But they ignored in the beginning. I insisted, then they offered me a job. I persisted, then what was next? I think they offer a sum of money with many, many zeros. They tried, they tried their best. Then they went with direct threats, like really dead threats, face to face. Then it was a kidnap attempt, and then a kill attempt. And then I was extracted by my fellow colleagues from Greenpeace, and they've been taken abroad. I received more trainings, the security trainings. And they were good. But I was still not prepared for some other things I have done in my career, because I'm not, I can't separate my love for nature and animals, regardless if they are wild animals or descendants of wolves like Silva here. I've been in places where basically no one wants to go, and have seen things where you normally, when they come on your social media feed, you just skip because it's too disturbing. Like, for example, ivory trade in Africa, can hunting in Africa, fur farming in Scandinavia, foie gras in France, feather plucking of the geese and ducks for sleeping bags, jackets, and so on. You name it, all those things. Or the live export of European animals to Africa and Middle East. I've seen it all, and I thought I'm getting stronger. Every time I see something, I'm getting stronger, and I thought this kind of psychological numbing would protect me. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. And it was a a day when I was in Palestine for an investigation, when the mix of suffering of humans and animals came out of me in the form of vomiting blood. It's when the moral trauma became physical trauma. It's something I was never prepared for it. I was basically hiding in it to me. I didn't know it's there, and it was very bad. It changed my whole life. I'm saying this because I don't think that nobody's spared from that. If you choose this path, choose to have professional talks with psychologists, whatever coaches, that's very important, because in the end it might be a bit more than just vomiting blood. It can completely change your behavior. You can become a nightmare for your family, for your friends, for everybody around you. Be very careful with that if you choose that way. I'm going to stop with this, and I'm going to switch a bit to my home country, Romania, where we do have still, despite all this illegal logging, some amazing primary and old-growth forests, like the one in the very beginning, when you could see perhaps between the branches of oak trees two babies of Emma, a mother bear who I know personally. She's wild, and very wild. And there were two of her 3 cubs from the last series, and they were having a siesta in a tree. That's the kind of forest we fight for, where you wouldn't know unless you see chemtrails on the sky that is year 2024 after Christ. And it was maybe 20 years ago when a very large Austrian corporation called Holzindustrie Schweighofer came to Romania, and they started to build factory after factory until they have built processing capacity which is larger than the cutting allowance. We've been talking back and forth for like 10 years, trying to talk about that sustainability I was mentioning in the beginning, about traceability, transparency. It was all bullshit. They never changed anything. So 10 years ago, I came here in Vienna, and I had a face-to-face talk with the CEO. I think Matthias was with me. I was already with Agent Green. It was many years after I left from Greenpeace, and I have informed them basically that we're gonna switch the tactic. We're gonna go the hard way. And in short, it all started with me documenting a truck from a logging concession of 10,000 cubic meters from a virgin forest inside the most beloved national park in Romania, all the way to their sawmill. I even have a notar with me to testify that the footage is genuine. I was weighed with punches and kicks and a pepper spray, and I ended up in hospital. That was one of the life-threatening attacks I have suffered. There were some of them much worse. I have been transported to AKH in Vienna because my attackers were around the hospital, and they wanted to get the job done because their intention was to cancel me completely. But after this story, it went so bad for the company that they have to change their name. I told them it's the easy or the hard way. You can't mess up with the trainings you get at Greenpeace. You can really fight the largest corporations. And the change has started. The change has started, and they can, any moment, I can actually knock on their door, and they have to open the door at the factory. Otherwise, we have a big problem, and their clients would know. They have to show at any moment where every single tree is coming from and where it's going to. And they have a system to prove that they are no longer accepting any piece of wood from a national park. And then I was still criticizing them, and they were asking why, and say, you're too big. You have to downgrade by design, not by more disasters. And they have done that as well. The next level with them is to stay away of clear cuts and goes to forestry close to nature, or you can call it close canopy forestry, where the sun is not touching the ground. So anything else than clear cuts and keep the forest native. And this kind of fight I'm having now, and that's a campaign I don't know if I have time, but I think there is another kind of threats that I should say that you should be aware if you choose this path. Perhaps the cyber attacks. I can't say if it was the Austrian company or another one because I have so many opponents. But there was one day, and I'm saying this story because it involves a very beloved Austrian journalist, Florian Klenk. I don't know, Florian, if you're in this room, but I'm sure he remembers this story. One day someone has stolen his identity, his phone number, his voice, his email, his everything, just to convince me to open an email. It wasn't Florian. It was totally someone else. It was a very sophisticated hacker. And by trusting Florian, because I think Florian is to be trusted when it comes about investigative journalism, they have extracted all my emails since 2009 until that day. They've destroyed my computer, and a lot of things happened after that. It went very, very bad. It was a time when I also discovered my whole home was wired. There were live transmission for every single room, and that's obviously someone was spending a lot of resources to know what I'm doing and to do whatever they do with that. What I'm saying here is that all my devices that were hacked were given to the secret services here in Austria, in my home country, Romania, and to United States, because they also hacked our partner organization there and they couldn't find anything. Lesson learned, you're not safe on internet. Double and triple check whatever you open. And that's another kind of thing you don't get trained to when you join the movement and you have high profile campaigns. And last story, but I mean, Lina said already so much about IKEA and what they're doing. I'm just saying they came to my home country, Romania, and not only to make furniture, because they've doing that since 40 years actually. They have factories, they're making furniture, but they became the largest private forest owner. They're buying land. And they're not improving forestry, they're reducing it, they're changing it. When we published the last map of primary and old-growth forest together with Matthias here in the room, I went to IKEA and the other corporations operating in Romania and asked them kindly in a gentleman agreement dinner, please stay out of this last remaining primary and old-growth forest, like 500,000 hectares, impressive. That would be like 8% of the forests. And it was the IKEA representative who stood up at a dining table, punched the table, and he said, no, that's the last forest we can cut. I just can't get that out of my mind. And so I start a new global campaign now, and I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need groups all around the world, because fighting IKEA as a global corporation is not easy. We already launched the report, we met them, and it was a clear signal they are not gonna change. I basically told them, well, you don't practice what you preach, and what you preach is not enough, the ambition is too low, and they won't change. They only invited us to become an FSC member, which doesn't make sense because they certify clear cuts in a national park in a virgin forest, so we are at war with IKEA. And again, it's a campaign that will require you, it will require groups all around the world in all the countries, but we have to achieve, because it's a very symbolic fight for the entire planet. It's a fight that is inviting everybody through educated choices to be a beneficial participant to heal the planet, for planetary health. And right now we are fighting such corporations which are the opposite. They're a toxic participant to the entropic death of our planet. And if we win fights like this, and in a united way, I can imagine saving those last primary forests, and just have in mind that picture with the bears in the tree, or any corner of nature around the world where you have been and you just fell in love with it. So I'm saying, if nature can be so beautiful, imagine human civilization in full bloom. And let's try to soften this terrible future ahead of us by design instead of disaster. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Vielen herzlichen Dank, Gabriel Paun.
Danke.